Oh. Hey guys, how's it going? It is either way, Randy Chavez coming at you today with a podcast with Sanjay Baskaran, aka Mr. MC1, aka the lovely person we all know that throws all these amazing parties. You know him from Twitter as Mr. MC1. You might also follow his real name as Sanjay Baskaran, who's PE advisor, deep tech investor, board spyglass, and more. Let's welcome Mr. MC1.E. And perfect heckin' timing,
Timing
brother.
there. On timing, man. On timing. How are you?
I'm doing well. I love the sleeping hack. Mine's currently in the wash right now.
Okay,
Um,
very cool.
but what mint number do you have?
Oh man.
88. Oh, nice. Double. I got the 43. Did you get the black one? George black one?
I did get the black. I've ordered it. It's in the mail. Same number.
Oh,
Hopefully.
no, yeah, same. So I was just going over your personal Twitter, and obviously you have had a lot of successes before getting into VV. You've had a
Sure.
whole full, and most of us have had these full lives that not too many of us know about. So tell us about it. Tell us about your life before VV, before getting into this, and before before all the super chats saying
Yeah,
Mr. MC1
sure.
is out.
First of all, thank you for having me on the channel, Randy. It's
Yeah, of
always a
course.
pleasure to chat with you. You have an incredible energy level. You just you light up any room. I've had the pleasure of meeting a couple times in person and also watching some of your streams, and just it's incredible. The amount of energy that you bring in. So real delighted to be here. My background before VV, I was a chemical engineer in India and came to the US to study as an immigrant, and no much money or any such thing, and worked my way up. So I got my MBA from Michigan State. Worked in consulting for a couple of years, supply chain consulting, and after that I worked as in banking for almost 10 years. So I was at HSBC. A lot of different types of roles, launched credit card, did marketing and operations and a whole bunch of stuff. Went on to running analytics at Visa for North America. That was a pretty cool gig. And then, it's like a lottery ticket kind of happened. I became a general manager at Amazon. I ran the card business there, launched the Amazon Prime card, did a couple other cool things, had a lot of fun, and then went on to becoming president of a B2C fintech, and then after that, CEO of another fintech. But the last three years, I've been just doing a lot of investment. So I made a little bit of money, and I decided I wanted to put it in different early stage companies. My focus was, Randy, more on deep tech. So, which basically means it's physics and chemistry based scientific startups. And anything from hypersonic flight, space travel, you just name it. It's things like longevity, a lot of different, different types of energy and stuff, alternate energy and stuff. So I've been doing a lot of that stuff. And then more recently, over the last year and a half, I've been doing a lot of private equity work. So I'm an advisor to a large private equity firm, helping them buy something. Obviously, it's been an interesting market, private equity market, but hopefully one of these days, a big deal goes through, and then I'm back to buying secret rares, man.
Yeah, you've got a lot. You've got what's your level? What's your MCP level? Is that at what, like 61 or something?
A lot. That's a lot. So 77, working towards 78. Yeah. I've got like 2.3 million points or something like that. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but yeah, hopefully some good stuff,
You're going to get all the drops when they come out. So that was a lot to go over. There's so many things I want to ask you about banking, about some science conspiracies. How long do I have you for? I know you're extraordinarily busy.
I mean, I'm here as long as you need me to, Randy. So
do not give me that option. We will go till tomorrow morning.
No, we can, yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good on time, so don't worry.
All right.
Don't worry. By the way, big hello to Atomic Z, aka Tony, VV Darklink, a lot of you guys. It's just great to see you guys on this channel as well.
Yeah, everyone loves everyone loves you. You're like the you're like the person that I feel like nobody has issues with because you're
I
always
don't know
throwing parties.
if that's true.
The,
I've heard a few people, I've heard a few people the wrong way.
the haters, they hate us because they ain't us.
You know, shit out, man. This is, you know, that's life, you know.
That's true. So you also just got back from India, and we'll get into the stuff that you just talked
Sure,
about.
sure.
I was trying to think on the like people that inspired me recently, and you have the one of the people that everyone looks up to is like the in the Spanish community. If you like wrestling, oh, Eddie Guerrero was dope. Everyone loves him. If you're a girl, you were like Selena back in the day. I don't know if there's
Yeah.
any Peruvian that I would look up to. There's just not that many famous ones of us. But what about you? What about growing up? You said in India, let's go back there. You have family. Who's an inspiration for you growing up? Was it like Sachin Tendulkar playing cricket? Was it someone that was banking? Was someone that was just super successful? Tell me about it.
Yeah. Interestingly, you know, my dad was perhaps the one that inspired me, motivated me the most.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was an army officer, so he, was in the armed forces for 30 plus years. And what I thought was just really incredible about my dad was the insane, sense of loyalty and gratitude that I learned from him. Also, an insane sense of discipline that I learned from him as well. And those, those are different characteristics and traits that are very critical to being successful, in my humble opinion. And I have other role models and idols for different things, and we can, talk about others as well. Professionally, I've followed a number of people, and they've each one of them has, there's something I look up to them for. But yeah, so going back to India was really about, my dad's regiment. My dad's no more; he passed 20 years ago. But my dad's regiment was having their Golden Jubilee in a northern border town of India. And Randy, you're from the force and stuff, right? So
Yes, of course.
you have a sense for some of the stuff. So a lot of those people in this armored, look at that. A lot of people in the Indian armored regiments, they stay in the same regiment from the time they join till a certain point in their careers. And for my dad, there was a lot of people who he worked, his commanding officers and stuff when he joined, and then my dad ended up commanding that regiment as well. And so a lot of these people had seen me, when I was really little, and I'm going to be 50 this year, so the regiment's as old as I am. And so it was just an amazing experience to connect with them. And what's really incredible is, to this day, and by the way, my dad commanded the regiment 30 years ago, and he passed 20 years ago. To this day, there's a birthday card that comes to my house in India. To this day, every single year, happy birthday, Sanjay, birthday card at home. And it's unbelievable. I mean, like that's the amount of loyalty, kinship that's in that space. So I have a deep sense of gratitude towards that, that outfit. So that's why I went there, man.
Yeah, I saw pictures where you had his cup and you started drinking beer out of it. You started going.
Yeah, well, that's a tradition. So the commanding officer, my dad was the full commanding officer of the regiment. So when the commanding officer leaves, he, there's a number of things. So he donates like a silver cup. So it's got, to all officers, blah, blah, blah. And it's got my dad's name at the bottom. So there was like this case with all these cups out there. And man, I went to the bar. I just picked up that cup. I'm like, you know what? Get some beer. And I poured. My mom had a horrified look on her face. She was like, this is like a regimental silver salver, Sanjay. What are you doing? And then the current commanding officer is just laughing. He's like, well, you got it. Let's enjoy it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're a big fan of loyalty. You're a big fan of having that familial type, especially after getting that birthday card going to your house each year. That must mean a lot.
No, it
Has
does.
there been any other community that you've had like that since like your the upbringing of your dad bringing you up in the military? Have you had anything else like that with the people you work with, any of the communities you've been in?
Nothing to that level or extent, but obviously I've had a lot of different friendships, and I've enjoyed a lot of different types of associations that are somewhat similar, none to that degree. And VeVeVerse, for that matter, is still early days. It's only a couple of years now since we've all been together, but I feel that bond, a similar type of bond with a lot of the VV people. And they're really very, very, it's a very diverse group. And I like diversity. I really like the diversity of thought. So you're always learning. When you have a group as diverse as that, you're always learning, because it's always a different perspective. Whether it's a comic, it's an old comic or a new comic, you have different points of view. Whether it's an old, IP collectible or a new one, the animation, there's always, whenever you're in a space, you're always learning something new. And I found that by and large, I know there's a lot of negative sentiment and stuff like that. By and large, a lot of the people are very caring and genuine. Like we all caught up in New York, Randy, right? That was so blessed. I mean, nobody cared about pricing or whatever. We all hung out. We had a really good time over a couple of days, and the party and stuff. And then same thing in LA as well. So I believe we have a great community. I'm looking forward to interacting and engaging with people in IRL as well as in different channels. And every once in a while, there's a little spat or there's some difference in opinion and there's drama. It's just life, It's life.
Of course. So you're talking about learning and being inspired. I don't know if this is something that I just thought of recently. Do you know the word Riz? You know what having Riz is?
Mm-mm.
Having Riz is like the kids are saying like, oh, he's got that Riz, meaning like he has charisma or she has charisma.
Okay.
Like if you start macking and pick up a girl, like, oh, he got that Riz. And I was watching some stuff on TikTok, and one of the recent things was like Steve Urkel, and he just had these lines, man. These lines of just like, oh, I'm drunk on you, baby. Like he had that Riz. And the only other type of fictional character that I ever thought had very good lines like that was like Helga G. Pataki from Hey Arnold. I don't know if you know who that is. She's great. I love her. But have you had, obviously we've gone over some of your people that you were inspired by, real people when you were younger. What about fictional characters? From any of like the comic books you've read or TV series that you've watched, who is the fictional person that you've learned the most from?
That's an interesting question. And I'm sure there's a good one somewhere. It's just not coming to me right now. But give me some time to process that question.
We can come back to that later.
Yeah, I mean, we should definitely come back to that. I mean, I watch a lot of different types of shows and there's different characters and stuff. There's something to be, there's something to be learned from every one of these characters. A lot of these superheroes, they all go through adversity, and there's something or the other out there, but nothing specific at this time.
Okay, we can marinate on that a bit.
Yeah, marinate on that.
So bringing it back to real life, you were talking before about how you were at HSBC Bank, you were at Visa. And I'll bring this back to VV in a minute, but first I'll ask, what was the career field that you had enjoyed the most? What was the career field that was like, this is so exciting, I don't think I'll ever leave?
I think Amazon for me was that. It was
Why?
So a couple of things. The first thing about Amazon is a very deep customer obsession. Like literally from the time that you join the company, they're focused on customer obsession. A lot of companies you go to, right? They talk about how big is the market. It's so many billions of dollars. There's a $1 trillion market. And then they tell you, oh, we make only a small piece of it, but we can make a lot of money here. And that's sort of the starting point is how big the market is and what can you take out there. Amazon, the conversation is so different about, who's the customer and what problem do they have? And then, there's a discussion around, so what is it that you can do that's different and can solve that need, or, it's an unmet need that you can solve. And then they'll get into, okay, the financials and hey, if we do this right, we can make so much of money and blah, blah, blah. And that comes later, right? To me, that's such a refreshing, way of looking at a business. And it's sort of the recipe for success. And I learned a lot when I was at Amazon. I enjoyed working there. Very fast-paced life. It's not for everybody. It's also highly competitive. Literally every new person that's hired in the company, there's a bar raiser that looks at this person who's like added to the interview panel just to make sure that you are better than 50% of the people in the company at that level across the company. So, the bar keeps going up, because if every time you bring in a new person, he's better than 50% of the people in the company, you keep kind of moving that up. So, that not for everybody, but to me, I really enjoyed working there, enjoyed building. I consider myself a builder, and that was definitely a very fun time. And obviously I left Amazon to go do other things, but they really did have to offer me a shit ton of money to unhook me and unhinge me from that place.
Yeah, I mean, we all got our price. Love what we do, but if we go someplace else, it's got to be for a lot of money. Which
I didn't sell myself completely, but yeah,
Yeah, of course, I love that.
It was a very good opportunity too.
So now with your time at HSBC and Visa, I don't know how long was that for, combined total between those two?
About 14 years. So I was at HSBC for almost 10 and Visa for about.
All right, so there's a lot we could go into here. It seems that you probably know that fairly intimately. First, we'll start off with like something small and easy, like the payout and that we have that was just announced. I don't know if you saw the announcement from Veve.
I just quickly glanced through it. It started in the US, but not internationally, right? Yeah.
Correct. So for that thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that maybe they would like to test certain things first, withdrawals, and they'll just start with the US, and then the other ones will follow suit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. There's a lot of complexity when it comes to payments, right? Because it's also a lot of, hey, Sleeping, how are you? So there's a lot of complexity when it comes to payments, especially globally, right? Domestically, at least in the US, it's a lot easier, depending on which company you are. If you're a US-based company and you've got partnerships and stuff here, and you've got the network here, it's a little easier to process here. The moment you go overseas, now you got to worry about international banks and laws and this, that, and the other. I don't know this situation intimately, so I don't really want to comment specifically on what the challenges could be and would be and may be. But long and short of it is international payments are more complex. And when something's broken, right? Obviously something broke, right? Something fell apart. And when something falls apart, and you got to put it together, you look at a couple of different ways to do it. The first thing you look at is, where do you have the vast majority of business, right? So if you have more than, let's say, 50% of your business in the US, well, that'd be your first priority to kind of get that going, right? If you had to pick between doing 5 things out of 50, you'd pick those 5 things that are most impactful from an impact standpoint. And then you sort of say, okay, fast follower will go after this and this and this. So that's probably what it is, and they want to get it right. They want to. Yeah, this company has not impressed me that much, though. I'll tell you that. Wire.
Yeah.
Just with the way they handle their customers, with the way they handle some of their partners, and just start to finish, I think I don't know what's behind it and what the challenges and stuff are, but I think just being a lot. They could be a lot more thoughtful about it, right?
Yeah.
There's a nice way to kind of handle this and say, hey, listen, we want to help everybody, but here's here's where we're starting. We're going to whatever, man. Like I think there's a lot more opportunity there for them.
Agreed. Do you have any recommendations on if you were kind of running things, who you would pick? Would you pick Visa? Would you pick other people that would handle these types of deals?
I don't know. I wouldn't pick any specific player offhand. I think it's a function of the type of business that you are. Like I don't work for Veve, so I don't know all of Veve's criteria for as it relates to payments and stuff. There's different providers, who handle who have different strengths. Like there's certain providers that are very good with gaming and gambling and those types of they're good merchant processors on that side. And there's different players in different regions, geographies, and stuff. And then it's not just a function of moving money, right? It's also a question of moving money in a compliant manner with KYC established, and all this other AML on the back end, right? There's a lot of criteria that goes into moving money. We see KYC, but on their end they have anti-money laundering, so they have to follow there's certain protocol that needs to be followed, and different geographies have different kind of rules around it. So yeah, but I think VV's also learned a lesson in that they'll probably have multiple partners now, and they'll have a backup and a backup to a backup or something in different geographies as well.
Yeah, agreed. Moving on to your time at HSBC and how you can translate this banking crisis for us. And my friend Kevin, who works over at JP Morgan and Chase, that said over the last month or so, they got about 700 million in deposits for his bank. And let's say if that was the same for the big four with Bank of America, Wells Fargo and Citibank, as well as JP Morgan and Chase, that's only about $2.8 billion, and that's not nearly as much that was withdrawn from a lot of these other regional banks. Where do you think a lot of that money is going? Do you think it's going to crypto, real estate, gold and silver? What's your take on the whole thing?
Just to understand your question better, are you talking about people that pull out their money?
Yes, people that had pulled out their money from these regional banks, which amounts to multiple billions, and only a couple billion going into these bigger banks.
I don't know, man. These kind of events shake people up, and different people react differently. The more old school people kind of sit on cash and gold, right? And they have ways in which they hold cash and gold. And there's the newer generation is more crypto and stuff. Man, I think real estate is another one. So a lot of people put money in real estate, and especially if you have the means to pick something up on cash or something like that. I'm reading some of these comments here as well. So yeah, my sense is more money goes into crypto now, not less, because governments can't be trusted, man. There's always, there's always some government somewhere who's screwing somebody,
Yeah. And they I think we had talked before. It was on a random stream of mine. It was a while ago. And Jordan brings up OMI here. I don't know if I was tipsy or anything, but I tried to convince you. I was like, hey, take out an equity line of credit on one of your houses and buy more OMI. And you did not. You did not yet. You're obviously very heavy on Veve. You have one of the biggest accounts on there, easily in the top 100, probably top 50. Maybe even top 25. Do you know where you are?
Somewhere between 25 and 30.
It's amazing.
By unit, by number of collectibles.
That's just number of
collectibles. But probably, I have a decent MC1 stack and stuff. So
yeah, it's huge. So that's what she said. So for the crypto that you said you're going more heavy in, are you playing it safe and going with Bitcoin and Ethereum? And for the OMI, did you stack a little more, or you're just like, I'm gonna wait?
No, I mean, I've slowed down on all of that stuff now. Let's talk about these two things differently. So Bitcoin and Ethereum are more mainstream crypto.
Yes.
Look, I think the global economy is changing. The US was sort of a singular superpower. The dollar, everything is pegged to the dollar, right? But what's happening increasingly, sort of a slow change, is China's becoming more popular, right? Bigger, more powerful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of countries that are looking at the yuan as, as sort of they want to peg things to the yuan. I was surprised to read that even France did a transaction pegged to the yuan recently. And then let me just needling America for something or the other. Don't want to peg everything to the yen all the time. I'm quite sure. But still, these things change. These things change. And my sense is as the US dollar, loses its shine globally, whether it's to the euro, whether it's to the yuan or to anything else, it kind of creates that sort of sense for people to go more into a crypto, right? So I think that's one kind of thing. And then the other thing is, look, with currencies, governments are constantly manipulating it. And manipulation is sort of a negative word. They may be, managing it, but their management of the, currency is something that can hurt you and is out of your control, and you feel played, right, as a customer. So I like crypto for that reason. Now I wouldn't go all into crypto as yet, but I like holding some crypto, mainstream crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a couple of the others as well. Just it's like a basket for me that I want some of the more well-known ones. The second conversation is a different one, which is OMI. Look, man, OMI is a token.
Mm-hmm.
It's a token. It's a utility token with little to no utility today. It's coming, but it's not there. And so, I'm a little different than you, Randy. I mean, you're sort of in the bucket of, and I'm speaking, you should correct me if I've got you wrong here, I read you wrong here. You're sort of thinking, look, man, this company is great. They're going to do great things. I want to get in super early, and I don't want to, miss a decimal place here, right? Like these decimals are just slowly going to disappear over time. I don't want to miss a decimal. I'm going to go in and heavy. For me, it's a little different in that I see Veve, and maybe it's a function of, the kind of investor I am and when I came in and stuff. To me, it felt like, look, until Veve is successful, there's no, like, I don't know what we need to talk about OMI for. Like, we just literally, if OMI is tied to Veve, and Veve is not successful,
So how would you define success in that particular statement?
Yeah, so here's how. First of all, there's two different criteria. The first one, I think, has been people have been working towards it for a long time, which is, let's first get Veve to work well and be super successful, right?
Talking about the app, right?
The app, customer base, all of that good stuff. MCP, look. If you don't have MCP, it's not a collector's app. It's just flippers who come in and they make the money and they're out. Anybody comes in at any time and plays any game. Whenever there's a super prestigious drop, lots of people come in, and when it's a different type of a drop, it's just collectors, and there's not that much value in there today. But if you sort of work backwards from that, right? The second piece, which I think is sort of being worked on in a very smart manner, and I think Mitch called that out, is to make sure that MCP and OUP are in sync. So you want to make sure that first of all, Veve is established in a smart manner. It's not got all these kinks and stuff. I mean, it's reasonably well established. That's number one. Number two is, you have like this utility from OMI that's working very nicely, synchronously with creating loyalty. Because if they're two different programs, then suddenly, you've lost that sort of working together. There has to be one loyalty kind of mechanism, and OMI has got to be a very critical ingredient to it. And I think it's important to lay that groundwork and foundation. I mean, there's probably some truth to, hey, why don't we just use OMI to buy stuff and sell stuff and whatever? I have to agree with that point of view, saying, hey, why are we not doing it? And then the whole exchange thing, right? Like, look, man, like with the exchanges, I'm not an expert in the space, but all I would tell you is, I would want to get onto those exchanges when a utility token has some utility.
Yes.
And when you show up there, first impressions matter. When you show up out there, there's a statement that gets made around, hey, we've got this utility token here that has real utility tied to Disney. Right now, the only message you can say is, well, it's the same company that does Disney and all these other IP, but it's not tied to it really directly. And so, that storyline is weak. I mean, like, even like when you think about like a Doge or Shiba Inu or whatever. I mean, like vast majority of people think it's a freaking joke, man.
Yeah.
And you now you can go and buy like Mavs tickets with Doge, and you can do all this stuff. But look, man, let's get this thing working in the right way. My opinion, and I'm not the boss of VV or this thing. My personal point of view is let's get VV going in terms of functionality with basic functionality, right? Come in easy, bring your money easy, buy easy, sell easy, take out money easy, all that good stuff. Let's get those things working. Let's get the whole rewards and master collector working with OMI as part of the, those different layers. And then from there, let's create some more, what do you call it, utility for OMI within the ecosystem, right? Whether it's in the VeVeverse to go buy things or get things or land or, all those kind of things. Get all that going, then work towards all these exchanges. And to me, that then sets up like for a steady, you come in strong into anything, and then you keep building from there, and you keep building and you build and build. I think it's a little bit of ways out. I would have loved to see it a lot sooner. I don't disagree with anybody who sort of believes, hey, it's been 4 years or 5 years. What the hell? There's nothing, you can say to someone who's impatient about it, and you can't even call them impatient at that point. 5 years is a really long time, right? So I have deep empathy for people who've been in this project, coming in more from the OMI side and who struggle, Randy, to see. But you can't rewrite history, but you can definitely write the future. And I think we're on the right path with establishing VV properly, with establishing an MCP and OUP working together, and doing that in a structured manner.
So you mentioned that you wouldn't want to get on exchanges until we have utility. The team has mentioned that as well. At what point do you think is enough utility? Because the OMI to NFT is a Q2 priority, and even if we don't get it in Q2, we'll probably get it in Q3. Do you think that's enough utility to get on exchange, or would you rather also buy accessories? Do we need to have staking at that point?
No, I think that's a good start. I mean, that's enough, I think, right? I mean, to the extent that you've got a pretty big app and you can buy stuff with OMI, that's a utility, man. The fact that having more OMI versus less gives you more things versus less. To me, I'd love to see that play out as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
In addition to just bringing, 500,000 OMI and buying some stuff, or bringing in 100,000 OMI and buying stuff, right? I mean, it's different levels to it. But I think, just being able to bring in OMI as utility in itself, because you're using it somewhere, right, to buy something. But you also want to see some action, right? So if you open the OMI to to this NFT kind of functionality, and there's not much OMI that gets used to buy much, then it's it's utility, but it's not being used, right? So you need utility that gets used. So
that's true.
You want some momentum behind it. I don't think turning on the functionality by itself is just a checkbox. You know what I mean?
That's true.
I don't know if you agree or not, Randy. I mean, you have a very different point of view, man.
Yeah, I understand that. And you have, again, when talking about success, I get having the app where it doesn't log you out and you don't have to uninstall and reinstall in order to get back in or reset your password. I get that shouldn't happen, or at least not as often as a lot of times it does. Even though it has gotten better, it's still an issue. And I get being able to have a search bar and a search function, being able to search things a little bit. And the search bar has gotten better, but obviously you want it to be, and I think that's why we haven't really released in Japan yet or in Asia. But I mean, comparatively, and I know really you should only compare against yourself. Are you better than you were yesterday? But compared to a lot of other similar apps and platforms, we're killing it. I mean, there's still over 1 million gems a week that are being sold. And I know that's gross sales. That's not actually net revenue, but that's still a lot, where most other companies are bleeding fairly heavily and the drops are making nothing. That being said, we did happen to have the worst percentage drop today from Tarzan. I'll make a video about that. I'll release that tomorrow.
Randy, did you go for it?
No, I'm going for the locomotive. I'm going for the Back to the Future train tomorrow. So I'm gonna get that. I So obviously, as I've gone all in on OMI, and I will get to another thing in a minute. But as I've gotten to the OMI, I have 159 million now. I've decided, hey, listen, I have a lot of the NFTs I want. I'm only gonna
Yeah,
go for things that I super super want, like
yeah,
the train. I would go for I would spend too much money on the Marvel Mighties, and then the Infinity Stones, because that one's gonna be we're gonna have a
yeah,
sixth one, and I don't know if there's gonna be any utility with them
yeah.
or what have you, but yeah, those are gonna be exciting. I mean, as far as the app being a success, I feel like it kind of already is, depending on your definition of it. But
Sure.
but yeah, obviously, always room for improvement. But speaking of stuff that I spent too much money on, or speaking of things, we had a cool saying "Logo Owners Unite." Yeah, and we have there's a bunch of different groups in Telegram. There's like a Amazing Fantasy 15 Secret Rare group. There's a logo one. I think there's a Secret Rare Spider-Man one. I assume that you have brushed against people and have, interacted with many of these groups. Why why are you and why are me and other people bullish? I mean, they've heard me talk about it for a while, but why are you bullish on the VV logo?
Um, so the VV logo, I was at ground zero when this thing went down, right? I've
Yeah,
heard I've heard the man himself talk about the logo and the logic and the rationale behind it, and just personally for me, it was I heard the right things.
hmm
So David talked a little bit about board actors. Well, I'm friends, with them. I don't hesitate to share my point of view with the team whenever I have a point of view. So they're not required, but I'll, proxy. I've been a proxy board member for a long time, man. I've been sitting shadow, shadow board, but. Yeah, if you think about this thing, David talked a little bit about. Look, when he had a store, he created this card to encourage people to come back into his store, and he would, whenever they'd come back in, he'd give them small gifts and things like that to create that bond with people who were engaged and were coming back. And
yeah,
when he looked, and I don't think his thought had anything to do with Veve as in the digital platform and all that good stuff. His thought process was that um, they have like these IRL events. I'm sure they have a digital business in mind, and this was really to create some engagement level with the people that come to IRL events. And so his thought process was, hey, when people come to these IRL events, I have a bunch of these cards. I'll assess who I believe is the type who would come back, and engage with us. So the come back and engage with us is an interesting, and I don't know his full logic behind that, but in some cases it was people who collected unique things. It's not just the size of your collection. I'm sure Dr. Rolex would have always got one, right? Based on the size of his collection, he could always wangle one.
yeah,
But for the vast majority of people, it was not about the size of the collection or anything. It was you showed up, it's how you engaged with the team, it's what you spoke about, and if you showed them some kind of passion of yours in collection that translated into the physical world, they dug their hand in the pocket and they gave you something. And the thought process was that they will then, the next time you show up, they'll give you a gift, and that'll get you even more jazzed. First you got the card, then you get a gift, and then you come back another time, and then you get another gift, and one a year or whatever it is that they want to do with that. And to me, that whole thing appealed to me as someone. I could see myself as someone who would be super excited with a card, super excited with a gift, and would keep coming. Yeah, mine's downstairs, man. That's
I've never
cool.
ironed it on my shirt yet. I've never done that. I don't know how to do it.
I'm gonna have to take my hat off for you for that one. 41, man. That was pretty cool.
I thought I was special because I thought that David. I thought that, like, oh, they knew, or not that they knew. I thought that the cards were random, and then that they could they could do it on the back end, or like, oh, make sure Randy gets a 41. And
Yeah.
then I talked to David at New York Comic Con, And I was like, oh, hey, I just want to say, thanks again for that logo. Getting the number 41 was amazing. It's like, you got the number 41? I was like, yeah, you didn't did not do that on purpose. And he's like, no. I was like, I was like, well,
That is pretty cool. Look, you can always go back and have him write something for Randy or something, especially for Randy or something.
That's true. Very good point.
But look, that appealed to me, from a physical collecting standpoint and stuff. And I actually started the group, but believe it or not, when I heard that, I said, look, this is a very small group of people, and I want to create a group of people because, especially when it comes to IRL events, because this is people who come for these events, right? It's really valuable to somebody who wants to show up at events. It may be valuable to somebody else who wants to flip it or whatever it is. That's a different story. And I really wanted to, get that group together. And I want to create some engagement. Every time I come back to one of these events, I want to, stay connected with a group of people. And so that group and is basically one on Telegram, where you're there. There's a bunch of other people there. A lot of hardcore VV people in it. Some who got the card, some who bought the card, and that's great. And then now Veve has on the Veve, what do you call it, Discord as well. There's a channel. There's a token gated channel for Veve Gold card holders and stuff. So, and you see it only if you have the card and stuff, and that's pretty interesting too. I'm not very active on the other one, on the Discord one, but Telegram obviously I am, because I started that group. Yeah. And honestly, I've other part of your question is how does it compare to some of the other groups? Somewhat similar. They're all hardcore VV people in the MC1 group and the AF15 group and stuff. But I'd like to believe that this group would be a little bit different in that we come alive a little more during physical events, or IRL events and stuff. And we can talk about the parties too, man.
Of course. So if in your mind, and it might not have even been conscious, but do you think even subconsciously you thought, hey, not only is this a good idea because, people can learn from each other and whatever, but if I'm the creator of this group and I'm like Brown Jesus of this group, the founder, the one that is it, do you think that part of you was just like, oh, this group is going to be special, there's a limited amount, and cream rises to the top, and the people that don't see the potential and how special it could be, we'll sell it, and the people that do see something and want that type of brotherhood or want that type of close-knit camaraderie, did any of you know that at the time? Did part of you think that, this could actually be really something special?
No, I did. And I want to make another point here as well, which is, this is one of many things that Veve's going to do. I'm sure they're going to give out some kind of card for comic people. If you're like this voracious comic reader, comic collector, IRL, whatever, or maybe, just digital or something like that, they'll have, they'll have some kind of a club and a card and a whatever, more formally from Veve. Today, a lot of these, this is the only one that's sort of Veve driven in that they have a gold card and all that good stuff. A lot of the other clubs are just formed randomly by people who have a collectible. But, my sense is that, for people who are not, in this gold club, maybe you don't come to physical events and you don't like it that much, and there's no reason to get all excited, jazzed up, and it's cool to not have it. It's cool to not have it, man. Like if I lived in in sub-Saharan Africa, and I love collecting and stuff, but I don't go to these IRL events in the US and stuff, it's kind of meaningless to me. I could care less, and I'd rather have something that's more kind of special for me. So I'd love to see other Veve doing these similar to gold card groups for other fandoms, people that are into comics, and I know Sleepin's loving that idea, and I love that idea.
His ears just perked up, like, Bart.
Yeah, I mean, Veve have like this Veve comic gold club or whatever, whatever you want to call it. Create a freaking card, give it to people who've got some, deadly collections. Either you're gonna have a 41 or you're not 41, like whatever the 157,
like
whatever, or you've got like something or the other, right? So
Like a
create,
thousand comics or something.
yeah, have not just it's not about the size of the collection. Then it becomes just like a rich dude's club, right? Those suck, man. I don't
Not
like the rich dude's club.
necessarily,
Like
because
I like
what
special
I've been
clubs.
doing. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I've been, because I want to be in the top 500 wallets, and
Sure.
if I just did it with things that I like, and it's not about MCP points, because
Yeah, yeah.
eventually when you could use your OMI, I'll just use my OMI, whatever. Um, I want to be the top 500 wallets, and you can farm cheap comics for like a $1.75, whether there's
Yeah.
like Squirrel Girls or they're first
Oh,
appearance of
yeah.
Jeff the Land Shark. So I feel like getting 1,000
No,
comics
yeah.
isn't that hard.
No, you can have that. You can have some of that, but you've also got to make it like, if you have like a 16-year-old kid who's got 200 comics, but he's, very in tune, he's read every damn comic, he's got to be in the club, whether he has the money or the not or whatever. You know
Good
what I mean?
point.
So
Yeah,
you gotta make these clubs in ways in which you can bring in diversity into the club.
yeah,
And yeah, Sleepin, you should. And by the way, Sleepin, you should work with Veve on it to make sure it's an official club.
yeah,
Not just a sleeping card. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, just work with Veve on it, right? Make sure it's like something tied into Veve, and they do a drop, and maybe you're one of the champions of drop or something.
yeah.
But yeah, sorry, getting back to this. So now just taking a little back to sort of the Gold Club. To me, that's a very nice group of people. I really enjoy interacting with them. By virtue of being in that group, if you're in that group, you're always invited to one of my parties, right? You always are. I will always make room for you. You have access to me. You have access to a lot of other people, and we'll have a really good time together too. Over the next few decades, I expect to see each one of you next later this year and next year. And I don't know, Randy, God willing, if this whole thing hits, OMI goes up, and let's not put a decimal point, left or right or whatever, but hopefully it's in the right direction. Yeah, we'll have some pretty awesome parties, man.
Yeah. So you've been amazing at doing all of these, get-togethers and just being an absolute G. Oh, that reminds me, I have we'll talk about this off camera. I have like a wine company that wants to do some sponsorships if you want them to sponsor
Yeah.
a
Oh,
party.
hell yeah, man. I'm big
Uh,
into wine. So,
It's true. It's true. I forgot.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, the if it does go to, or not, it like as VV goes, as we get to this new bull market in the next couple of years, and everyone's on the VV platform, suddenly MC1s are like 12x of what they are now, and OMI goes up to a couple cents. Where do you want the parties to, like? Where's the big ones for you? Is it Vegas? Is it over in like London, Tokyo? Where are we going? Going to Abu Dhabi? What's going on?
I think it's good to tie it to an event, like a larger event, and
Mhm.
doing your own thing, on the side, before, or after, or something like that. So I like the San Diego. I haven't been to the San Diego one. It's a pretty big event, but I'd love
It's great.
to. I haven't booked my tickets to San Diego or something. But if you think about the next decade, I see myself doing the San Diego Comic Con quite a few times, right? So doing something, and that's a great area. There's a lot of cool things out there, by the water. There's wine, there's food, there's a lot of other stuff. So we could do something like that. San Diego Comic Con is a good one. I think doing something in Las Vegas would be great as well. Wes, you do, my friend, you do. As long as you hold that card, you are. But yeah, so Vegas for me would be another incredible place. And I think there's a licensor meeting, which is traditionally not for people like, customers of Veve.
But
We
we
can
can
make it a
crash
thing.
it.
We can make it a thing. We can all go there. We can hang out. We can crash those
When is
parties.
that?
It's some licensor meeting, man.
Do we know when? I'm going to Vegas in
June,
like
June. It's
June.
June. Ask
Okay.
Veve Darkling. He went for it last year.
Okay.
The Veve team goes for it. It's all these other big IPs and stuff who show up, and it's a big shindig in Las Vegas. So that would be pretty cool. Or maybe Veve does its own VeVeCon in Las Vegas, right? It's that would be pretty cool. I mean, it's definitely one of the coolest places to do one.
We might go a little wild if it's in Vegas. I
Yeah,
love your idea of the attaching it to like a VV
yeah,
event. But yeah, if it's at a VV con,
yeah.
I mean, at DesignerCon, most people that were there, like the biggest attraction was the Veve booth. I mean, you did have a lot of people at the
Yeah.
Tokidoki booth, but
Yeah.
most people there for Veve.
Decon would be another one for me that I want to do. Decon has a different flavor to it, right? It's like a lot more artists, right? Independent artists and stuff. And like I got to meet a lot of those artists. I know, like earlier, my sort of Rolodex of artists that I could contact and knew was like Ron English, right? Nobody else. But now there's Ron, Frank, Jermaine, Mumbai, like Alison Bamcat, Tara McPherson, all these people, right? Jason Naylor. Like now I know a lot of these people, Airy Vision, Sabat, like, all of these guys, man. So when we do something in LA during Decon time, we'll do something with artists and we'll make it more about art, celebrating art, people doing live art, like stuff like that, right? We'll do giveaways and stuff. So I want to make it a lot bigger. This last time around, it was sort of, I was still, it's the first event. I was kind of gauging my way around who shows up to these events and how do we do them. And honestly, I hadn't planned them enough and I didn't know enough to plan enough. But now I do, right? Now I do. And I know enough people to help me with all the planning and stuff too. So Decon will be another one where we do a big event every year. And then New York Comic Con for sure, man. I mean, I love that rooftop environment was very special. So we'll probably do a bunch of events in New York, but the rooftop event will be a limited kind of event. There's probably 110 people can come in.
So like it or not, order 110 shots.
We'll probably increase it to about 150 or something like that. But that's going to be a limited event, and you want, you want in on those, and that's going to be a very, it's going to take other criteria. It's not going to be just an open anybody shows up party. That one specifically.
Oh god, that's like my favorite story of when the bartender goes to you and says, "Excuse me, your Asian friend just ordered 100 shots." And you're like, "What?"
So what happened was that look, the whole deal was the whole event's free to enter, but each one's by own kind of thing, except the team, because they're guests, right? It's a fan event. The team's got to be the guests, right? So I left my credit card at the bar, man. I have a decent line, I mean, I don't have a black card, but I have good line. But anyway, so I said, look, if any of these or these people order anything, just give it to them, whatever it is. Don't worry about it. And so this lady comes running up to me and said, your Asian friend ordered 100 shots. So then I said, does he want to put on my card? She's like, no, he wants to pay for it. That's the problem. So I said, that's not the problem. That's good.
Was like a quick $1,000 was $10 a shot.
I don't know what it is, but
so
very kind of David to do that, though. By the way, he didn't have to do it, man. He didn't.
Yeah, no, he's great. We love him. You mentioned living art before. Have you ever had body sushi?
Body sushi. Have sushi off people's bodies?
Yeah, like so they and this it's not really meant to be like erotic or anything, but they're naked.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah,
but
I haven't done it.
I've never gotten sick. Apparently a lot of people do. I haven't. I've I enjoy that. It's really good.
I haven't done it, Randy, but I mean, I'll watch it.
That's pretty dope. Mark's saying that Life Expo is June 13th to the 15th. That'd be really great, just before summer.
Yeah.
We might have to do a trip. So I have this theory, and I let me know if I'm being a moon boy or if like, oh no, Randy, you might be onto something. If there's other platforms, I won't throw out any names out there, won't throw them on the bus, but if they have some really cool licenses like Nickelodeon or like Hello Kitty, and maybe those licenses aren't doing so well, do you think that it's possible for I'm not saying for Veve to buy out those other platforms, although they could. I just don't think that would be efficient because most of those people are from Veve Fem anyway. But do you think it would be possible for Veve to say these licensors, hey, you haven't gotten the money you've expected because there's not a lot of drops because the platform's not really good. Back the truck up and come over to Veve. And do you think we could see like a Nickelodeon or a Hello Kitty in the next couple of years?
I think so, man. Like, why not? Like, why not would be the point, I think DC has demonstrated that they would work with Veve and they would work with Palm and they continue to work with Veve while they're still working with Palm. And
agreed.
I don't know if any of those IPs have any exclusivity or something with those platforms. I'd guess not. So should be doable. I mean, why not, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, Veve does have a lot more customers. I think there's 1,000-ish people who kind of do almost everything, I would say, and like very highly active, if not everything, highly active. And they've probably got about 300,000-400,000 that are engaged with big drops, right? Not big, but prestigious drops, and some people come in for some things or whatever it is. And they've got a lot of people who are sitting on the sideline watching, right? I think there's a lot of Veve customers who, they're in the boat, the oars are up, and they're just watching, right? And when the time comes, they'll start rowing. You know what I mean? And you just have to. Those are just economics. Like a lot of people know about Veve. I think for Veve to reactivate 1 million people, right? If you think about it, Veve has a better shot at reactivating 1 million people when things fall in place than bringing in a net new 1 million. Bringing in a net new 1 million will be more expensive.
Good point. Yeah.
Right. And so, like, if I were, sort of looking at growth in the platform, and you hear all the FUD and hear all the stuff, you gotta just, get on with it, right? Because there's a day when they'll all come back in, like. And you've seen that to be true when the Lambo drop happened. How many people came back in?
Yeah, I mean, they also advertise that at Yahoo. They advertise that everywhere.
Yeah. So it's just but to get back to your original point, I think Veve does have, and I guess the point I was making was, even though it feels like Veve has, more customers than the other platforms, but still not that many. Still seems small, even though it's more than the others.
Yeah.
Veve's ability to reactivate a big base is a lot higher than others, and is my humble opinion. And I believe that in time, with the right, set of feature functionality, IP, market conditions, OMI, et cetera, we could see some of those, things coming, falling in place.
Yeah, I think the queue is going to be really helpful. That wait list, instead of having to smash the buy now button, people are like, oh, it's fair. And a lot of people in Europe can get the grails, they can get the fun drops. So I think that's really.
Let me just keep one more thing up for you. It's not as simple as getting, another IP or whatever. That's, in my humble opinion, that's just one of, Veve doesn't need more IP. I mean, if they get it, that's great. Veve has a lot of IP already to be successful with. That's like if there's one thing that, sort of you can, say is not a problem, is the IP right now. A lot of IP. I think the bigger thing is the ways in which Veve can manifest, these IPs, and, having like static versus animated, static animated with music, static animated with music and interaction with another one. These, and then, like connecting it to some kind of utility with, parks or this, that, and the other. To me, that's where there's a lot more kind of opportunity. And then beyond that, there's also, sports NFTs, music NFTs, VeVeverse and land and, all that other stuff. To me, those are all very, very, important ingredients that we haven't seen as yet play out. And each one of them will, I believe, bring in a different set of customers who then go and explore other things. And you just need one of these to take, man. I don't know which one it is. I don't know if it's BTS or Blackpink or whoever, one of these, that just comes in and then the whole app goes viral kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. Or it's an athlete or something like that, or it's a team, or it's a way in which maybe they gamify sports.
I think localization. I think when you have, I've seen it before in Earth 2, where it was most of the customers were in America, and there was some in Europe, there was some in Australia. But as soon as South Korea got in, and they took an area, they took over that area, They
Yeah.
bought and they got all of these amazing plot points. And I feel like once they start coming in, that's what they do. They work together as a unit, and they come in,
Yeah.
and you'll see things disappear from the market, and
Yeah.
they'll
Yeah.
never be seen again.
Yeah. And the market's down. Like the stock market's down quite a bit. A lot of stocks that were $200 a share are down to like 20, and good companies too.
Yeah,
And so there's a lot of challenges there. The housing market is not looking great, right? So it's
especially in the UK.
yeah, it's more expensive now with the interest rates to buy. If you're a seller, well, it's not looking great, because then if you sell it, you got to go buy a house, which is expensive. So
Right.
you're trying to sell your house at a price point that enables you to buy in, which nobody wants to get in. So that's kind of a challenge. And with interest rates rising, a lot of people's everyday payments have gone up. Disposable income has sort of gone down, and so there's a lot of challenges. And these things have to go through the system, right? And my sense is it'll probably play out over another 3 to 6, maybe even 8 quarters. So this could be less than a year, or maybe more than 2 years, or about 2 years to play out. And then that's a long time. And if you're a business, you basically have to find creative ways of succeeding. And Vivi's approach to it is, we'll do more drops, limited in quantity. Some will price high, some will price low. We'll kind of learn our way through
Yeah.
this, right? At the end of the day, they still were able to do Tales of Suspense 39, $20 a comic. Well, you can buy a physical comics for $5, man. Like a new comic for $5.
Yeah.
This is $20 to buy a digital version of an older comic, and 10,000 editions sold out, and people are buying even like the higher priced.
Yeah,
market.
Secret Rare is like over $900, and people are just like, yeah, I'm doing it. And part of the reason why I'm also bullish was, even if they didn't grow,
Right.
which obviously they will,
Mhm.
is that in my YouTube analytics, it says most of my subscribers are between 24 and 44. And it's
Yeah.
usually in your 40s, that's when you make, peak money. That's when you're making the most. And, if half my subscribers are younger than 40, well, then, they haven't
Yeah.
hit that peak, income yet. And as they do, that'll just keep getting better and better for them.
Yeah,
So,
we've also, Veve is, I don't want to generalize it, but I think for the most part, it is crypto people who came into collecting, right?
yeah.
And that's a very different crowd compared to a collector coming into digital collecting. And there's some of those, but we need more of that to happen. And you want that momentum, and you want different age groups to come in, and you want different geographies and stuff. I mean, NFTs in India, stone cold dead, man. Like, nobody's talking. Like, I didn't hear the word NFT one time. I was in multiple cities, multiple groups. Didn't hear the word NFT one time, except when I met Akash.
Damn. Okay. All right. That's interesting. That's good. It's good to know, though. Good to know. Because
Yeah.
I mean, there's places in the Middle East that they love collecting. I guess
Yeah.
NFTs have not. They haven't gone into that yet.
Yeah.
So there's a question here from Mr. Turtle saying, "Great conversation. What are your thoughts on the Golden Dragon Collectors Club? Any suggestions for community-driven utility?" What they have is, I don't know if you know what they have, is if you have that Golden Dragon, it's like the little cutesy one. And if you list it for $88,000, you're staking it. And there's OMI giveaways every month, and there's beer giveaways as well. So is there any?
I have one. I'm not in that club, but I have one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, man. I never understood what the club was about, but yeah, I'd love to. Look, absent an MCP and all these things, we can create our own clubs and create our own utility, and it's kudos to people who are doing that in the community. I'd love to see a lot more of those. I'll dig into it a little bit. I heard about it, but I wasn't in the club, even though I have a Golden Dragon. But
So generally, what I used to see in Pokemon, and this has a track in my mind, I promise, is that for a PSA 10 would usually sell for 5 to 8 times what the PSA 9 would sell for. Yeah, first edition holographic, and that pattern was consistent around pretty much everything. And when that pattern wasn't consistent, I know something was undervalued or overvalued. in that same breath, you have secret rare MC1 is 28 times the ultra rare price, where most others are around 10 to 15. Now,
Yeah.
either that means a secret rare is overvalued, which I don't think it is. I think it's not at all. It's
Yeah.
undervalued. Or that ultra rare is super undervalued. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
And this is my personal opinion. I think the ultra rare is undervalued. I have, yeah, I picked up a bunch, by the way. I have, a lot of the ultra rares. I've slowed down for, some other reasons that I'm kind of working on. But personally, I would wipe those clean whenever my next, sort of buy phase within Veve comes in,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I literally, I've cleaned, I bought the MC1 ultra rares up from 190 or whatever it is, all the way up to like 490 or whatever it is. I think I bought it all the way up to 490 even like 4 weeks ago.
Damn.
So yeah, I bought a bunch, and
So
I like the
you're
ultra rare and I
saving
like the uncommons, and I bought a bunch. And I bought it, and then I listed mine. I put it as like a like a reminder kind of a thing. Like I bought it up to like 490 or whatever it is. But then I took it out, because I was doing some other stuff, and I just didn't want to give the wrong impression there. So I pulled that off, and not like I was planning to sell it anyway.
Yeah. So obviously you probably can't talk about what you are planning to do and why you're not buying these right now, because obviously if you talk about it, then people hear about, oh, he's going to buy this, so I'm going to buy it before he does. So you don't want
No, what I'm looking to buy, they can't buy. So it's outside of Veve. So.
Oh, okay.
There's no secret plan to go do something somewhere.
Okay, disregard. Well, hello, potential human.
Yeah.
Those are okay. So yeah, the other and obviously you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but stuff outside of Veve, like you had mentioned on a post the other day, you said that I have my 4,000th comic and I'll have my 4,500th or my 4,000th collectible. I'll buy my 4,500th and my 5,000th, maybe on Veve, maybe not. So you do collect things outside of Veve. What are some other things that you either invest in or you just choose to like because you choose to get because you like?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of NFTs, I like Formula One. So, Tezos sponsors a lot of the F1 teams. So since Vivi's not on Tezos, they end up doing NFTs with Sweet or somebody else. So I do the McLaren NFTs and I do the Red Bull NFTs and stuff. So I do a lot of the F1 NFTs off Veve, and I've like I'm big in those. I know the teams. I follow the sport and stuff. So I do that. And then I like a lot of the independent artists as well. So every once in a while, when one of them does something on a different platform, no matter where it is, whether it's Maker's Place or XYZ, what a Manifold XYZ or OpenSea or whatever it is, I'll just go and buy stuff there. So I do those kind of things. There's a few things I follow, and then even spatial. So there's assets that you can buy that render well in spatial. So I'll buy them wherever. It doesn't matter, and I like being in spatial. So those are the kind of things I do as well. All right, I'm big in the Kid Called Beast project, in the Bat Cowl and stuff, and I like all the DC stuff too. So
dude, Bat Cowl family's so chill. I love them.
Yeah, they're pretty cool, man. I like them. I get along well with them. Hang with them. In fact, a lot of them come to the parties and stuff too. So so collect a lot of that stuff. And then I'm trying to think of anything else. I mean, that's kind of it. That's what comes to mind right now. Oh yeah, and more recently I've started getting into some of the Asian NFTs as well. A lot of the anime type stuff. So I follow little different people. So I asked John for some advice on it. So I've got more recently I picked up a whole bunch of Asian kind of NFTs and stuff, more the anime style
nice.
NFT.
Dude, I can't wait for that. Obviously we have Dan Crothers who follows I think Crunchyroll, and then there's another anime Funimation as well on Twitter, and those are just obviously known for their manga and anime. Which one are you most excited to, or which one do you want to come to Veve? Because you don't know if they're coming out.
I don't follow either, man. Like I'm not that deep into it, so I don't have a point of view on it. It's an area where I'd like to dive in a lot more. A lot of the stuff that I bought is not like big brand IP. It's more artists, independent artists doing a range of different types of characters and stuff. That's what I bought. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you should tell me what you'd like to see, Randy.
Oh God. Oh, so there's stuff that I know would be really good for the app, like My Hero Academia. It's where in this world, all of these people, or like 75% of people, have what's called quirks.
Yeah.
And a lot of people figure out how to use them like for good. Some people can manipulate water, so they're a firefighter. Some people can do like whatever, but then obviously people are evil. Some of them, they use their quirks for like bad stuff, and it's just a show about becoming a superhero. It's really cool. It's really fun to watch. Fruits Basket is one of my favorites. That's I was born in the year of the horse, and it's about this girl that she stumbles upon this family, and they have like this curse where every time they hug a member of the opposite sex, they turn into their zodiac animal. It's like, oh, that's really cool. But I would say everyone loves Dragon Ball Z. Everyone loves like Attack on Titan. Pokemon would just break this app. That you would have
for sure.
extra 100,000 users overnight, and minimum. But yeah, those are a lot of things that I would love to see. We'll probably get one of the smaller ones first to like see how it tests, and then go from there.
Yeah.
But speaking of artists, Gary Baseman, who's really cool, really love him. He had an airdrop recently, and there were two airdrops that are going on. One is with Gary Baseman. I don't know if you got that. It was one that came out like last week. You got the airdrop today. And the other one, we don't know what it is. I don't know if you've seen it on your sets, but a lot of people had, let's say they have 70 sets. Now they have 69 sets. Everyone comment nice down below with 69. And we're not 100% sure why. Some people had 71 sets and now they have 69. And one of the airdrops that they were getting is for the Gary Baseman. Every time you have a certain set and then there's an airdrop coming, you get -1 set, because when that airdrop comes in, you get that set back. Do you have any idea what that other airdrop is going to be?
No idea, man. I don't have Gary Baseman stuff. I mean, I collect like specific artists and stuff. I'm not in everything all the time, so I don't collect Gary stuff. So I don't know much about the airdrop. I think your question is more a technicality. I think that's more a Mitch question than and less of.
Well, I mean, it's have you noticed your sets? Like if you have, let's say, 214 sets, did you notice the amount of sets you have go down?
Man, I stopped counting, man. I stopped counting.
Okay.
I have like 230 something. I don't know if it goes up or down by one. Like somebody asked me a question saying, hey, are they giving you credit for comics that you sold or whatever? I'm like, shit, man. Like I have 4,200 or something of these. And if you didn't give me points for like 10 of them, I wouldn't know. I really wouldn't know. But yeah, it's a good question. I like the fact that companies doing airdrops, irrespective of whether sets are going up or down, and they should fix that. But I like the fact that the company is doing airdrops and things like that, because creating that sort of extra bonus for people that are collecting, holding. Sometimes they disclose it, sometimes they don't. I like that. I like all of that stuff, man.
Yeah.
I wish they do more of it, at least in this market. It's a bad market, so it's not like it costs you $1 million to make. Like in the physical world, to make an extra gift or a toy could cost you $1 million. Here, it's digital. I mean, it still costs you money, but to the extent that you can keep the morale high in the in the ecosystem, that would be great.
Agreed.
Small things make people happy.
They do, and that's how you get
value.
That's how you get a lot of deals done too. Like if you have in the high risk lending business that I was in years ago, closing like a $50,000 deal, the way you could do that is like, okay, I'll give you a free month of credit repair, and you just pay an in-house specialist, like, hey, give this person free credit repair, I'll give you like the $200. And meanwhile, a $50,000 deal will close, like, and it's a couple $100. It's weird. The small things get things done, get it over the line. You mentioned spatial.
Randy, I did want to sort of give you another this thing. You were talking about IP, and I didn't want to lose this point.
Oh yeah.
I look at a number of different types of companies. One of the companies that I looked from, like the investor material was Funko. So if it's very fascinating when you look at Funko, right? Obviously they're not NFTs and all that stuff now, but when you look at the company itself, the Funko company, when you read their recent quarterly earnings, it's got a lot of information on different IP, which IP is, what are the top 10 in each quarter, and how do they stack up. And it's amazing. The amount of IP that they have is incredible. And to see which ones are successful in which quarters and stuff is also quite amazing. So I really enjoyed that. I think it might be something that you might want to take a look at. It's got nothing to do with VV or any such thing, but just in terms of how people in the physical world are collecting multiple IPs from one place, and what are the patterns, and then you can draw similarities into what things are doing well on VV versus there, and what things are there but not on VV that maybe should be on VV. Like one thing was Harry Potter, man. I looked at Harry Potter and it was like, damn, very successful, IP for Funko. I wish VV would get it, man. And that would bring in a new audience. I'll tell you that, and it bring in not just.
I think
kids.
we can get that one day. I mean, maybe not right away, but I think we'll be able to get that one day.
Yeah, hopefully.
For the Funko Pops, I dated a girl that she had less square footage in her room because it didn't just take up the wall. It took up the wall like 3 different times. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And that's just what she did. That was her thing. But yeah, I love that. I love those types of numbers. It's my bit of like the autist brain is like, oh, let me go over it. You mentioned before spatial and how you buy things just because you could put them in there, which is great. Spatial can be a lot of fun when you have people in there. For the VeVeverse, obviously we're going to get the showroom. We should get that this quarter. It should be rolled out fully. We'll start rolling out hopefully this month, but it'll start rolling out in beta, and then everyone should get that this quarter. So that's not land yet. That's just the first iteration of it. It's going to be coming in many different parts. What are you most excited about for the VeVeverse? What is something that excites you more about that than anything else?
Well, I mean, to make it a social place, right? So the first part of it is decorating, right? And I have a lot of toys that I put a few things in the VV vault that I have right now, but I don't really spend time in my vault and doing this and that, and even if I do, I put the stuff in there, and I'm not going back in there, right? It's just, I don't know why. I'm sure there's people that do it. But so the first thing about VeVeverse is, it gives me the ability to go in and create in an immersive manner, right? To build out that showroom. And my spatial pad is pretty freaking good, if I may say so myself. And I love, doing that. So I'll probably decorate it first. And then the second one, or organize it and stuff. And the second thing is to then have my friends over. So I have invited my friends over, like Tony and a bunch of people, Akil and others have, Ellis and others have come in, and they have sat in my, spatial pad, and we've watched, a VVAMA. In fact, on your channel too, once, remember?
Yeah, we did that
a bunch of
one
people,
day.
and I took your feed and I put it in my spatial pad, and others came and sat down in my spatial pad and watched your live on YouTube on that. So I'm looking forward to that. I mean, to go from a Twitter, which is just voice and no toys around, to a VeVeverse where, and to me, the success of VeVeverse is not about just how many people have pads and this, that, and the other. It's about how many people spend how much time in VeVeverse. And to me, success in VeVeverse is that. Personally, I enjoy doing that, but I don't know if I'm a small minority or how that's going to shape up. Like I would see myself spending less time on Twitter, potentially 2-3 hours a day, and especially in structured, if somebody has a back of the class or whatever it is, right? I can see myself going into somebody's space for back of the class, don't DM me, for whatever else, right? All these different sleeping or something, Metaverse Life has his whatever drinks thing on Friday, or like happy hour or whatever. Like those are specific spaces. Like these guys have Impacts, and these guys and Loco, and these guys have the Marvel Snap space, right?
I can go crazy for that.
With putting that on the calendar and actually going there and sitting in that space and doing that. Darth Chaos, I got a couple hundred Funkos. My friend, you want to hold on to those. You really want to hold on to those.
Yes, General Darth Chaos. We love him. He's a cool dude.
Very
Uh,
cool, very cool.
yeah. If it was, I mean, if so, we can right now have
Yeah,
streams. You could watch streams in
yeah.
spatial. So there shouldn't be any reason why we can't do some of that in the VeVeverse. And could you imagine if there was a way that we could watch like Disney Plus in the VeVeverse? Like we could just go and
Well,
have
that would
like
be
watch
pretty good. I
Netflix.
mean, that'd be a pretty cool thing, right? I mean, even if they, if Disney doesn't have a formal program, I can stream Disney Plus in VeVeverse, right? I'll
Yeah,
just open a new panel and just pull it in, and show it on my screen, unless they block it.
I would. Oh God, dude, me sleeping, Clever Joe, everyone that likes Star Wars would just be watching new episodes of Mandalorian, the
Yeah,
VeVeverse. Like,
yeah.
I do that so often. Uh,
I think there's other things too, right? So, for example, what if in the Vverse you had the ability to your avatar, if you have like the controllers, right? You Every time you point your controller in a space, it shoots out a web, to
like
some part,
Spider-Man.
and then you swing to the other part, and then you use the other one and the other one and the other one, and you're actually moving around the Vverse like a Spider-Man, right?
Oh, that'd be so great.
Or you're moving around like a Superman or something. You got a hand up and you're like kind of going through it, or like with a Batman or the cape or something like that. Mobility with that, to me, those would be very cool if they're able to do that. Now that will
Yeah,
bring in. It has to be playful. It has to be playful. If it becomes playful, it doesn't have to be a a real game, like a video game kind of game.
yeah,
To the extent that it's gamified and it's playful, to me that would bring in a lot of people, man. I would love that.
yeah. The mind's
I don't know
going
if it's
right
coming or
now.
not. I mean, we'll have to see. I don't have any insider knowledge or anything, but that would be cool to have.
Well, I mean, that won't be first iteration. That might be like the third or fourth iteration.
Sure, sure.
Uh,
And that's expected too, right?
yeah, I forget what this was. There's a Legend of Zelda video game where you can, and it was like a mini game in one of the games where you can go and on these maps and you have like a co-op partner and you
Yeah,
could like throw bombs at your co-op partner. You could like throw them
yeah,
in the lava and like that type of
yeah.
stuff is just fun. I
Well,
would,
hide stuff, right? So you hide stuff in your pad. Anybody that finds it gets some OMI.
oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's a small amount of OMI, right?
Yeah.
Like you got 159 million, man. If you have like even 100,000 OMI that you set aside, or 50,000 OMI that you set aside for people to
Yeah, have
find,
people find it.
yeah, gamified, right?
Yeah.
That's utility.
Have you ever dug in garnet mines?
No, what is that?
So there in upstate New York, you have this place, I think it's called the Garnet Mines, where you pay like a certain amount of like $10 or however much you pay. And
Okay.
then there's this giant system of caves, and you can dig up you can dig
Okay.
up whatever you want. And every now and
Okay.
then people do find these rare jewels and they're
Stuff.
like, oh
Okay.
wow, and they make money. But
Yeah.
98% of people get like nothing. They get like these
Yeah.
things that are worth
Yeah.
pennies. So I think that'd be really fun to say like, oh hey,
Yeah.
pay
Yeah.
$5 or however much to get into this, and you can win up to $100, $1,000, whatever. I think that'd be really fun.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But I think VeVeverse, I think the new drop mechanic. So I was in India, man. I didn't hit any drops, when I was there. Some I
Yeah,
didn't go for because it was just, like a weird time kind of thing. But even when I went for anything, I didn't get anything. So, I think to open up this new drop mechanic that makes it more accessible for international markets is a good start. I
yeah,
mean, I think if you want global engagement, if you want some of these other countries to come on and stuff like that, you really need some of that to fall in place. And I think that's good functionality. I think VeVeverse will be good functionality, and I think just being able to buy stuff with OMI on the app would be great.
yeah. I can't wait for that. Which should
Yeah,
happen. Oh, wait, NFT even again that Q2
yeah,
priority. Probably get a Q3.
yeah.
I was asking where's this humongous wine glass, and
Somewhere downstairs, man. I don't have them upstairs here, but I've got the wines.
Speaking of wines, I remember the brand name that wanted to do the sponsorship was Kim Crawford. Do you know that wine brand?
No, but look them up. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're looking to
that sounds
sponsor
good.
events in New York.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So we'll see if we can. I'll put you in touch. See if we can get them to
Yeah,
do it.
for sure, man, for sure. And I know some of the vineyards too, so I can obviously kind of also help find some others.
Yeah. So is it true that I obviously it depends on your taste and wine or whatever, but is it true that some like $12 bottles of wines are actually better than some like $10,000 bottle of wines? Or maybe not that high, maybe like
I
five.
don't think so. I don't think
No.
so.
Because I went to this thing called Whiskey Fest last year, and a couple people from the Gold Logo Club took me to
Yeah,
it. It was great, and we had this joke because I like older women, and there was like I was like I liked the 18-year-old wine and the 48-year-old women, and they're like, oh well, we like the 18-year-old girls and the 48-year-old wine, but
yeah,
there was these whiskeys that
yeah,
were like a couple hundred. There was some even a couple $1,000s a bottle, which were good. But I'm not gonna lie,
no,
that whiskey, the whiskey peanut butter whiskey, the
no,
Screwball, it's like a $40 bottle, and I love that more
yeah,
than a lot of other expensive whiskeys.
yeah. I mean, it's possible that a $500 bottle is better than a $2,000 bottle, right?
Yeah,
For whatever reason, the characteristics and stuff like that, or just the way it was preserved and stuff. But by and large, you're not going to find a $10 bottle be like a. There's a reason why the people pay
yeah,
$10,000. The guys who paid $10,000 for that bottle, or people who paid $1,000 for a bottle, there's a reason
yeah.
why they pay that money. They're not idiots.
I mean, I love like Johnny Walker Blue. It's a couple $100, but I think it was It's like a Michter's. Was it Michter's Celebration or and like I don't know. I just didn't like it, and that was an expensive bottle.
But you will find regions, right? Certain regions are undervalued, right? So, for example, there's a wine region that's closer to Monterey, right, and just south of Monterey, and for whatever reason, wine that grows out there is the equivalent kind of wine in terms of characteristics and stuff in Napa would be 30% or 40% more expensive, right? So
Yeah.
those are ones where, as a if someone really knows their wines, you pick up a lot of the wines from Monterey or south of there, and and you'd serve them and stuff because now the $60 bottle from that region is at par with a 90 or $100 bottle, some bottles from the Napa region, right? Because there's a premium
Yeah.
that comes with Napa, and so there is some arbitrage there that you can play with and have, right?
Of course.
But nothing as crazy as a $12 bottle that just beats out.
Okay. Maybe my palate is just not that mature. My palate is
I
super
mean,
like
mine is not either, but
yeah. So depending on what I'm eating, like if I have peanut butter whiskey, Taco Bell sounds good. If I have Johnny Walker Blue or like Glenlivet, a steak is good. What's your
Sure,
favorite meal with a bottle of wine? And I know it'll probably depend on the bottle of wine, like maybe
yeah,
risotto or maybe like another meal, but
yeah. Um, steaks go very well with wines, and I'll pair, depending on the type of finish on the steak, I can, I'll pair it with, if it's a peppery kind of a finish on my steak, I'd pick like a more full-bodied wine that goes with it, and also pick sweeter sort of aromatics to kind of contrast those two, and then with fish, and I'd pick like a really nice white, different type of white with it as well. So yeah, so it just depends, man. Like I like, but usually a good meat.
yeah.
It's
We got to go
usually
to
a
a
good
steakhouse
meat
one day.
with some wine goes great. And then I've done the whole cheese and stuff too. Yeah, but I prefer good steaks with wines.
Let's go to I was trying to think in the city. When you come for New York Comic Con, which by the way, everyone that listening, Taps is coming to New York Comic Con. Taps
That's
will
awesome.
return.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to a steakhouse. Have we gone to let's say Peter Luger's? Really? Yeah, really good steakhouse.
Okay.
And there's one that we went to last year in the meatpacking industry. That was really good.
Okay.
We'll go to
Let's
one.
do
That'll be
it.
fun. Yeah.
I'm not a big. I'm not like an everyday steak eater or whatever, but I love my steaks, and
Yeah. Oh no,
whenever I
same.
go out, I get great steaks.
That's a special occasion type of meal.
Oh yeah.
Most of my meals are Subway. So gotta treat myself every now and then.
Yeah. No.
Well, we've been going for about 90 minutes. It's about 10:30 at night here. So I would like to thank you for going on. Is there anything else that you think we should touch on before we bounce?
Well, just one thing. I think it all comes down to the community as well. I know that just being quite empathetic towards how all the situation that people are in. A lot of people came into VV thinking it's a sure shot, straight line success, maybe a curve, exponentially growing as well. And that's obviously not played out that way, right? And neither has OMI played out that way. And even you sort of put that in the context of a lot of other things not doing as well, both in the NFT space or, with other crypto and with other assets and stuff. There's a lot of reasons to be negative, more negative than positive. But, if you seek an outcome, like let's say you're unhappy about something on VV or with any platform for that matter, you can get onto Twitter, you can get onto something and blast people, and it's quite easy to just, spout your mouth and say things. But it's, in my humble opinion, it's a little, more productive to influence and inspire. And if you seek an outcome, like for example, whenever I'm upset about something, I'm human, I'll go say three things. But my focus really is to kind of work with the team, and I'll reach out to the team and I'll say, look, big fan, blah blah blah. Here's an issue. Here's why I think it's an issue. Here's why I think you really need to fix it now. Here are some ideas on how to fix it. I'm here. You just fix it. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I'd rather go down that path and have that issue resolved than open a big Twitter space, and then you come out, and then there's always people who are vested interest, or they've got other interests, so they come in and pile on top of it, and then there's people who are just willing to throw a match anywhere, right? There's they'll light it up, and then you've got this highly explosive, charged environment, and nothing comes out of it. It's just for a lot of people, it's just sort of popcorn kind of what's the shit that's playing out kind of thing too. So I mean I've noticed things in VV that I am not happy about, or I something or the other, and I focused more on working with the team to solve it in a more influence and inspire manner. And my ask of people would be try that, give it a shot, reach out to people in a thoughtful manner, one-on-one, Mitch or whoever else it is, and Alex or somebody, and be surprised, at how much you can accomplish that way. And at the end of the day, look, we all want the company to do well, right? We want the other companies to do well too.
Yeah, grows the space.
Yeah, man. And then I'm a big believer. I always believed in David and Dan's vision. Always felt they were, 2 steps behind in terms of tech and other stuff. But they are very hardworking, and they've hired the right team. I've seen a lot of progress with hiring the right kind of people within VV, and I'm seeing the difference that they're making. I know we've still got a long way to go, but yeah, I mean, I believe there's a lot of good things yet to happen, and hang in there. Even if you're one of the guys, with on the VV boat with your oars up and not rowing, that's fine. But be ready to row. Don't jump off the ship as yet.
We're ready to get that bread. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if it if OMI wants to stay down here for another while, I'm fine to keep buying. I'll go to 160. I'll go to 170. As it stays down here another year, it won't. But if it does,
I hope you're buying other stuff too, Randy. I hope you're buying other stuff too. No,
I
that's
buy
it.
I buy Marvel Mighties, and I buy I buy a lot of the vehicles. I'll get all the Lambos at some point, but you know.
Well, I don't know, man. Kudos to you with what you're doing. I personally don't do that, man. I'm big in VV. I've got a substantial amount of money in VV. I've got some OMI, but I'm also spread out, man. I've got like a lot of other assets. I've got like real estate type stuff. I've got VC early stage investments for the long term, and I've got other stuff too. So personally, I spread it out a little bit, but good for you, Randy. I'll be on your jet, man, when OMI hits whatever.
And if it doesn't, visit me at my box. I'll be living in New
No,
York
no,
City.
you can come on my jet then.
Okay.
Something else will work, man.
Amazing. All right, I'll go work for you. I'll do yeah. So I'll talk to you off camera for a minute. But thank you so much
Yes,
for coming on, everyone.
pleasure.
Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for all the super chats. Everyone say bye bye to Dashi. Bye bye, Dashi. I'll catch you all later.
Bye,
And
everybody.